outcome. And I believe in the market that we're now in, with also a little bit challenging environment, I think it's the best time to invest, early. There's so much talent there. The price is adjusted again, very favorable, and the team's working harder. And right now there's gem creation, and this will go on the next 2-3 years. And I believe that this is the best vintage out of the last 50 years.
We had Robin Haak on the pod. Robin Haak is a solo GP based out of Berlin. Through his fund, Robin Capital, Robin primarily invests in angel, pre-seed, and seed stages of companies. Prior to founding Robin Capital, Robin was an entrepreneur and an early stage and growth stage investor. We covered a wide range of topics, starting from what led him into the world of venture capital, what was the founding story of Robin Capital, what's the portfolio construction of Robin Capital, how does he source, evaluate, pick, and win deals, how does he help portfolio founders, why he thinks this is the best time to invest in early stage startups, and investing in emerging fund managers is a great opportunity. Now I bring you Robin. All right, Robin, thank you so much for coming on the pod.
It's my very pleasure to being here today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to Robin. You founded an accelerator, and then you founded a company, Job Spotting, which later got acquired by Smart Recruiters. And post that, you worked at a growth fund, and later or now, you've decided to launch your own fund, which is Robin Capital. Maybe you can talk us, through your journey of getting into angel investing, and then what was the thought process behind launching Robin Capital?
Yeah, sure. I know it's all very various. There's so many stations in my life. Everything came by coincidence. I finished my MBA and started in mergers acquisitions in a publishing company, acquiring, or the company wanted to digitize, and we were late buy and hold strategy buying digital companies back then in 2008 plus. And when I started then to 10, I believe there was not much, and we were kind of one of the rare exit solutions. And this is when I first got in contact with all this digital community. There was no startup community. It was more Rocket Internet in Germany and Europe, and a couple of others. And that was basically it. And then I started there as a trainee, analyst, associate, the classic thing, in a suit and a tie, and working spreadsheets, 100 hours a week, and sleeping in the office, basically. I left going home 3 a.m., coming 7:30 before my boss, the CFO, later the CEO, then the CTO I was working for. It was a great journey. And then by coincidence, we met a guy in America called Saeed Hamidi at Persian, an amazing human being who had already been doing this for quite some time, investing in startups, earlier stage. I think urban legend Google, but for sure PayPal and Dropbox and a couple of other success stories. To date, I think he has invested in over 4,000 companies, and this was an accelerator. And back then there was only plug and play, there was YC, and there was Seedcamp. And he wanted to have a joint venture with Axel Springer. And this was a pretty crazy idea, I think, to them, because, late stage EBITDA multiple, profitable companies, to very early on doing an accelerator. And then they asked me if I could review this opportunity. So I did, and I had the due diligence, and my colleague ran the presentation for the board. And then we went to the board and we presented this, and I said, it's actually a good idea. And then I said, right, then you do it. And I was like, okay, I do it. And then they were, but Robin, this is operative business. Like, you have to work there, actually. Like, you have to do it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. So they gave me the old emergency place. So the idea was that for writing newspaper for the journalists. So the idea was, if Axel Springer in the third world war would be bombed, there is a secret place where you could still work and produce newspaper, because it's so important to bring news to the public. And so we worked from there, and then we made it a space. I had to learn everything. We had to set up a mentor network, and so on, so on, so on. And it was crazy, and I really loved it, and I loved investing, and I loved being so close to the founders, and I loved being early stage. And I was very fortunate because the fund, it's P&L investing, of course, with the 50-50 joint venture, Axel Springer and Plug and Play, but if it would be a fund, then it would have a good performance, because my very first investment that I led, I met them on a conference, is a neobank. Back then it was a PayPal, a credit card for children, and it pivoted into a neobank called N26. So this fund theoretically would have a very good performance for that one reasoning. And I did this for a couple of years. During my time, I invested in 50 companies. And then I had two problems. One was that I didn't know where to go next in this corporate structure. I had many ideas, like a follow-up fund, pro rata, super pro rata fund, something a venture fund, whatever, like Seed Camp from Accelerator now is more like a venture fund. So I had the same idea, like Reshma, going in the same direction, but I couldn't. This was one. And number two was I could have been an investor now the last 10 years, and then I would have probably an amazing track record. But I had the feeling, who am I to tell anyone? This is my personal feeling. It can be different for anyone. But for me, it was, whom am I to tell anyone the fuck what to do, Because I was sitting there, and yes, we had a mentor network and we had operator network and we had hundreds of people, and we brought them, and we had a demo day and we got the investors and all of these things. And I helped people because I saw lots of slides how to do it, but I've never done it myself. So I was just, there was this spark and this idea inside of me. I'm crazy myself, and hopefully in a positive way, as some people would say. And then I thought, okay, I should do something myself. And then there was an opportunity that three friends that I became dear friends with, who were ex-Googlers. They were for 20 years at Google. Accumulated. So like, I think 8 and a couple of years like each. And they were in the data quality search team, running the algorithm and building it in the first 100 employees in Dublin in Europe. And the idea was pretty intriguing to me. I loved it, helping humans to find a job, because what's the most important decision in your life is probably who you marry. And then it's probably where you want to work, like 8 hours a day or more. So I loved the idea of bringing people to jobs at scale and doing something good and having kind of an impact to really positive impact on every single individual. Back then there was, today it's pretty easy. Artificial intelligence, automated matching, personalization, graphs, this is clear. But then I had to explain this, it's basically job spotting, the company that we then founded, where I took over the business part. This was like Netflix or Spotify for jobs. So instead of having 20 tabs open and different search engine, you could go to us. It's all accumulated at one-stop solution. But then you also have an AI layer on top of it, which would personalize the job search. It's very complicated and it's very tough. And until today, no one has really solved it. I think LinkedIn is probably the closest now to achieving this. And I'm in the advisory board of Stepstone, which is the third biggest search engine for jobs in the world. And they are also working on this. So it's still a big topic and a big problem to solve. I really loved it. We raised from Horizon Ventures, pre-seed seed. We came to a point where we were almost 30 people, profitable and growing. But it was not this hardcore venture case of, hockey stick. And I didn't foresee it because we grew organically. So we had like 3 million users in 12 countries, 4 languages, thousands of landing pages, but we couldn't compete one-on-one on performance marketing. I couldn't spend more money. Like I give you 10 million, I put it in and then fuel on fire and then, but this didn't work. So we had to wait. And for this organic growth, we decided to think about strategic opportunities. And I met Jerome Tannick, the founder of Smart Recruiters. At the time we were also in talks with LinkedIn, with Randstad, with others. And we actually got a couple of offers, which is really great. But Jerome from Smart Recruiters made us a very particular offer. He said, you want to do the same thing I want to do. You want to bring people to jobs at scale. You want to help, you are who you hire. But then also with the idea on the other side, on the B2B part, that we were already working on, solving the client and the customer and give them an opportunity to have an amazing tool at scale. And then you have all these job seekers for free because they would apply through the clients anyway that you would work with. So we merged our company. I had an exit, but we all merged and I became a shareholder at Smart Recruiters. And then I partly moved to San Francisco. I took care of global operations, and together with Jerome, we scaled the company. When I joined, there were 100. Now it's 550 people. It's a profitable company, let's say around the 100 million ARR. And I learned a lot on scaling this, from becoming a leader, having a leadership team, management team, and hiring a couple of more 100 people. It was an interesting journey, and also being in America and a different kind of culture that you work with. And with such amazing talent, everybody who you would work with is maybe a former VP at Salesforce or SVP at Salesforce. And then you would work with them and learn from them. And this was such an amazing journey. And together with Jerome, I raised Series D with Inside Partners, 50 million. And then later I stayed after 3 years, I left full time, but then I stayed as an advisor, and we raised Series E, 110 million with Silver Lake, and so on, so on. And now I left, and Jerome is a chairman, and the company's growing and doing very well, but handled by others. And I left, and I was thinking about what to do, and everybody put me in this founder thing, because I speak like this, and I am like this, and so people thought this is who I am. But the truth is that my dream job was always this Axel Springer plug and play thing. Really, I loved it. Blessed, grateful being with them. But now I knew how to help. Finally, you want to hire someone, you want to scale something, you want to raise Series B, C, D, E, whatever you want to do. I've been there before. I would love to help. I want to be in service, but I didn't know where to go. And I was coincidence approached by Vevaya, growth fund. They built this first fund, so it wasn't there yet. Really, they had raised the first millions, and they did the first 2 investments, and then they asked me if I want to create this first time fund with them. And then I joined as a third general partner with Alice and Delina, and together we raised 250 million euro, 50 million above target, with bigger LPs like Generali, Allianz, and so on. And then we had a portfolio construction we wanted to invest in 15 companies. We thought would be Series C lead, but flexible from B to pre-IPO. And even with our partner Sycomore, it's like 9 billion AUM public market investor. We invested public market crossover fund. And I learned a lot. And on top of it, we are B Corp labeled, and it's ESG is very important for us in part of sourcing, selecting, and servicing. And then we raised this fund, and then we deployed this fund. We invested in companies such as Algolia, Aircall, CoreLogics, Platform SH, Frontify in Switzerland. It was my lead. We had a really good time. Now they're raising the second fund, and there's already something happening I can't speak about, but it's going very well. And I'm very happy for them. But I figured that I would love to be earlier. I want to go back to my dream job that I had 10 years before, working early hands-on. But then how amazing is this? You invest in a pre-seed company, and then you go IPO with them 12 years later. That is the dream. Or 10 years later, whatever, 8 years later, depending on how fast you are. But this is the dream. And then being there all the time. So I would be the guy that you call before you go into your board meeting. I'm your trusted partner. I'm the one where the founders would refer and say, Robin is the best guy at servicing. Nobody can better service. I don't know. This is the ambition, but I want to work really, really, really hard with the founders, that I do my best to make them successful and help wherever I can, based on the knowledge that I have gained over the last couple of years. And for that reason, everybody was pushing me a little bit into the direction, said, why don't you become a solo GP? I'll become a solo GP. And there's a trend, of course, and everybody talks about it, but the truth also, there's not many. So it's like solo GP everywhere, but there are not many solo GPs. So in DACH, I believe there's 4 solo GPs, and only one other person does B2B like I do. And so, it's a good market. And also, fairly honest, it's always the question, maybe a financial reasoning too. You ask yourself, where, planning for your future, where's a good outcome? And I believe in the market that we're now in, with also a little bit challenging environment, I think it's the best time to invest, early. There's so much talent there. The prices adjusted again, very favorable, and the team's working harder. And right now there's gem creation, and this will go on the next 2-3 years. And I believe that this is the best vintage out of the last 50 years. And in 10 years from now, we will know. But that's my clear belief. And for that reason, it just made sense to go into this market. And I've just started. I started fundraise, and now I'm finishing this. I started doing Robin Capital. And this is the end of story. Why Robin Capital? It's my name, Robin, but Robin is the Christmas bird. This little chubby bird with this red chest. Robin from the Jackson 5. He rocks. This guy on the website. So he's a cutie, and he makes people happy. And if you don't know me, you think it's Robin Capital the bird. And if you know me, it's Robin. So because I want to take responsibility and accountability with my own name, because solo GPY, So this is why I did this. And the rest, I guess you have questions about the fund, but end of story. Now it's Robin Capital, started in
Yeah,
February this year.
what a journey it has been, Robin. 10 years back, you figured, okay, this is my calling, which is investing at the earliest stages and help founders, not just investing. And but for that, you wanted to learn yourself. Just like in tennis, but you want to be a tennis coach or tennis player, and then you can become a tennis coach. And that's what you did, through your experiences of founding the company, selling it, and then of course later on working at growth stage fund. So you understand from pre-seed to IPO cycle. And I totally agree with you, Robin. Probably if not the best, one of the best times to invest now, given, as you said, like the market has adjusted, and in general it's a great time. Robin, maybe you can tell us a bit about the portfolio construction of Robin Capital. What sectors, you said B2B, what check sizes, what stages that you're investing in?
Sure, sure. It's good to make a benchmark, or like at least a comparison on why here. So at Axel Springer Plug and Play, it's like an index fund, right? So you invest in 100 companies and then you have a couple of outliers. So even one outlier could still end to 10x performance of the whole fund because you go in so early. And then what's up with my hair? And then at Revire and growth, it's very different because you the prospect maybe say 2.5x, and the ambition when you invest is 5x, and maybe it's even more. But you basically, it's about also ownership. You want to be flexible, but there's of course a certain amount of ownership. You have a different exit horizon, so the average exit horizon would probably be 4 years instead of maybe 10 years or 8 years. And then you would invest in 15 lines, right? And so I think if we talk about portfolio constructions, probably the things are the geo, where do you want to invest, then the vertical you want to invest, and then the stage you want to invest. And I obviously adjusted it a little bit to my learning and what I've learned over the last over 12 years. And build it around this. So what I'm doing is, in terms of stage, it's pre-seed seed. So it's 50 to 200K tickets. This is 60% pre-seed of the portfolio. And then there is the 40% is seed, which is 50 to 600K into seed stage. On location and geo, for me, it's mainly DACH. Why? Because I just live here and it's easy for me, and I see a lot of deals. Then Europe, same there. I lived in France. I worked with Slash in the advisory board for 3 years in the Nordics. And I also lived in many other places in Spain and in Austria. And so everywhere I see once in a while something, and then this is where the rest of the portfolio goes. And then occasionally I allow myself a tiny bit to US and Israel, as I have lived there and worked there, that if I see something that is favorable, that I have opportunity. So yeah, and on vertical, that's the third piece of portfolio construction, I would say. Sorry, this is 35 lines in my particular case here. And on this, it's B2B SaaS. Ideally, it resonates with me. So I like when it goes enterprise or has opportunity to enterprise. So I need to imagine this can make 100 million ARR. And I need to imagine this journey that we went with Smart Recruiters, and I want to have opportunity to go this journey again in a different way. In vertical can be various, this can be HR tech, which I'm very biased because I have worked in this field in future of work. But also, I have reviewed 8,000 pitches or more in my life over all these years. And of course, there's a lot of knowledge, and having invested in those companies in DevOps, in cybersecurity, in other fields. And as you maybe know, from Inside Partners, we had this benchmark that the variety of how they scale is not so different, right? Even healthcare or HR, or, it's only 30%, because ultimately it's a similar game. It's go to market. You have this product that you're selling, and then you have there's an attainment, there's a sales efficiency, there's reps, there's AE, there's a ratio of those, there's street quotas, there's win and close rates, there's a pipe that you create and you go through the pipe, and all of these things, these dynamics are similar, and you can create a machine over time. And when you Series B plus, you have this onboarding for your sales team, and you have your marketing creating the pipe, and then you go through it. And this is always very similar. So I can adapt this, and for everything I can't adapt that I don't have knowledge myself. Then if it's tech, product, or deep architecture, whatever, then there I have a operator network. And the good thing on the operator network is not just people that I'm asking, hey, I want you to make you part of my operator network because would you like to work with me? It's someone who I have worked with in the trenches. Like we went there and we sold, and we were in front of Bosch, IKEA, Twitter, LinkedIn, our customers, and it was about everything. And it was a high ACV deal, and you go there together. And I was like, you want to give back to the community? You want to work with the founders that I invested? It would be my biggest honor if you would spend time. And now these people work at Atlassian, they work at Checker, and they run the 100 million ARR responsibility only for them as what they do. And they now work with the portfolio. And this, I'm flattered and honored that they do. But this was already servicing, but overview on what I do and where I invest. Yeah.
So, you touched upon a lot of the, or I would say the deal flow is coming, through the relationships you've built, and that's around, operators. Now they're working at massive companies. Maybe we can double click on this and expand on it, Robin. How do you, again, source, how do you pick? And, of course, importantly, how do you win? And how do you serve them as well, which is helping out the portfolio companies?
Sure. I mean, on sourcing, it's ridiculous, right? Because if you're an LP and you review all these pitch decks, they all have this one slide. There's like, we have a flywheel. It's a flywheel. And then they come up with this massive idea of how, who, where, which operator and angel network and syndicate and which events, and they're cooperating, and they would bring you deals. And then again, the question is, how big are you? How many people work with you? And how many boots are on the ground, like making it work? And then you maybe have 5,000 plus deals a year. For me, it's very different. I'm just a solo GP. It's just me. And I just want to do the best I can servicing the best founders. So I receive 50 to 100 deals a month, which I'm blessed that the amount is so high, just me being alone. And I would say a lot of them is really referral from founders. So founders understand I'm a founder. I work hard. I have been in the trenches. I have embraced the pain, just like them. Resilience, patience, persistence, all of these things. And I love them, and I'm so much in awe with them, and for that, and they feel it. And I have so much respect for them. And I think for that reason, and from the portfolio right now, but also for all the people I've worked with in the past, they send me things that rather other VCs or anybody doesn't know about it yet. So it's a cool deal, or someone starting something that is like tier one amazing founder, tier entrepreneur, and then Robin, you should talk. Or B, it's the opposite. There's a round that there's a lead already that's 500% oversubscribed and everybody wants to be in. But then it's like, yes, guys, but you should talk to Robin because he could really make a difference. And I work really, really hard and spend all my time that I create this, that people would say, yeah, how doesn't matter how oversubscribed you are, Robin has very flexible tickets and you want him to be part of it. And then I want to be the guy that is so close to you that you call before you go into the board meeting. But this is on sourcing. So of course I do other things too, right? I go somewhere, I scout, I go to Madrid and I call the people that I know. I would call Juan, the founder of Job and Talent, and say, hey, who are the top 10 companies I should speak to? The same in Paris, where I used to live with Revaya, and what deals were too early for you? And of course, there you go to conferences and so on. And of course, I also speak with other VCs, and they would bring me on and think, yeah, we have a deal here, and do you want to be part of it? Mm-hmm. But I don't want to be the guy who's calling all the other VCs and say like, oh, can I piggyback on your deal? Because then I'm an index fund, and my LPs shouldn't be invested in an index fund. I want to be a high conviction fund. So I want to see deals that others don't. I want to do deals that others don't. And I want to make them successful. And then Sequoia Capital Index or Excel are investing on top of it. So for me, also pricing is important to a certain point. I understand that emerging managers often want to collect logos. So they want to make sure during fundraise that they can prove they invest with the best tier one. But I think this way, it's very hard to make a 5x fund. Because if you go on these pricings with Andreessen and so on, and you are capable of doing this because their principals are your best friends from back then, good for you. But I don't think this is how you create an outperforming fund. because ultimately you want to be in there before the others, and then you want to bring it to them. So I have a very good connection with all of these funds because I raised with them. It's different. If you go series B, C, D, E, and you go to Sequoia and recent Index Excel Founders Fund and so on, and they have been in your data room and you have pitched them and you talk to them over several weeks, and this for years because you raise series, every series you went there and they saw your process as a hardworking founder. There's a level of trust. This is one. And two is with Revaya and a couple of others and my angel portfolio and so on. I have a lot of co-investments. So I'm co-invested with so I give you an example, Bessemer, right? So Byron from Bessemer, I pitched him on D, I pitched him on E. We co-invested on a company called GetAccept with Revaya, not him personally, a colleague of his at Bessemer, but if I would send him a portfolio company of mine now, I think they would think, okay, it's from Robin, like we should have a look, and they would take it serious. So this may be on how I invest. So try high conviction, but following. And I get the deals from the founders mainly, and the VCs are my best friends, and I'm collaborating. I want to be friends with everyone, so I have small and flexible tickets because I don't want to compete, and then I want to bring them the best deals. And then on the other question was on picking. Yeah, pricing is important, and the rest is I have these venture partners and I have operator network and so on. So some deals like up to 4 or 5 people review them. And sometimes I'm super fast because I really, really understand it because in my field, but sometimes I'm not. And then it just takes, but even this I make very fast. It's within days, right? And then I call my friends and then I ask, can you call tomorrow? And then we try to proceed very fast and create high conviction. And then, pricing to a certain point. So I passed a lot of deals with big logos because the pricing wasn't right. And then obviously amazing team. Big market is not as important as everybody says. I understand if General Atlantic says, I want to invest in big market. Yeah, obviously. Clear for me at your stage. But if someone early stage says big market, I'm like, if it's a 10 billion market, I'm okay with this. It doesn't have to be a $200 billion market or more. Yeah. So I have also different views than others on this. And then maybe the last one is servicing, right? So I don't know, many things. We have meetups. I make a big annual meeting next year on a mountain, on a farm in Austria, in Carinthia, where Fabrice, we talked about Fabrice earlier before we started, is coming. Fabrice Grenard from FJ Labs and Jerome Tanik from Smart Recruiters and Reno Visage from Eventbrite. They all work with me to a certain point or invested in me, and they are coming, and then the portfolio is coming, and then for the other LPs are coming. And this is just great. And then we have Christmas dinner, but then also there's over 100 operators in the network that I would help you from product, tech. It can be even design editors. My recent requests were on press releases, on communications. Another one was on product. So I ad hoc, you just call me and then I find it for you. I even hustle for you. So one of my founders, they wanted to have the head of product of like a very famous unicorn in Germany. And they wanted the guy, the most famous one. And I said like, okay, let me call to that guy. So I poached him for 90 minutes and I gave him the speech, and now he works at the portfolio company because I convinced him that this is the better deal. Yeah. So I try to work as hard as I can in the servicing part.
Got it. Totally agree there. Founders actually has the best deal flow out there. Any good founder starting up, they're going to reach out to their friend and coworkers. And it seems like for you, you have a very strong founder network, and then outbound as well. You're pretty proactive, and thirdly, you have the trust, with other late stage firms or Series A, Series B. You created a ecosystem around you. And Robin, with this, we'll transition into fundraising. This is your first time fundraising for your own fund. How has that been? What's the process been like? How do you source LPs? What kind of LPs do you reach out to? And why are they looking to invest in you?
Yeah. By the way, I'm also my main thing for the founders is me playing a mini M&A boutique. This is what I love most on servicing, right? If you do your next round, I will help you on the data room and on the pitch deck. And then I will make you right now, one of my portfolio companies is raising. I made her 80 intros. Who makes your 80 intros? I made her 80 intros on LP fundraise. Look, I started fundraising in February, and I didn't want to make this like that I go out and raise for 1 or 2 years and I have an anchor and so on. I wish I would have had an anchor. And I wish I would be rich for my family, because I see this in many other funds. Good for you guys. And I'm happy. It doesn't mean it's not as good, but in my case, I was like, no, I just want to do it. I did it very entrepreneurial, and I also don't want to complain, right? But it has been tougher than I thought. It's also a challenging environment. So I think the category of a solo GP is somehow to some people new in Europe. And then you need to find the right target group, right? An institution is fairly too big for you. Many family offices that I would work with at Revaya, or they would say the minimum ticket should be 10 million. We don't want to own more than 10%. Or in other things, we want to have a very concise portfolio. We only work with 15 GPs, and this changes every 3 years. Even the very big fund on funds have a similar approach, where they say we would have work with 15 to 20, and then we exchange one or add one every year, like one new GP relationship a year. And this is particular, maybe not a small solo GP. If you have a big solo GP and you are Eladil, Orange, then you're very much interesting to them, but not so much in Europe with a smaller fund. So I think you have to, like I talk to my founders every day on ICP, I do a customer profile, like who should you talk to? No, smaller. Make it smaller. No, exactly. This is where you want to start. And I did a little bit wrong. So I went pump gun and not snipering. And I wanted to understand like what are their thoughts? And it was super interesting. I love talking to all the institutions. I love talking to the fund of funds. I love talking to the multi-stage family offices. I'm benchmarking, I'm writing down. I want to know what the other funds, how their performance is and where they have invested in and what they're thinking. And I love it. And especially those emerging managers, fund on funds, and all these theses. And many of them would also argue, and it's great, some of them, these fund on funds, they outperform their own funds. They make 5 to 6x because they have 3 outlier funds in their VC funds. So it's so interesting, and I learned so much. So I want to become an LP now more and more myself, investing in emerging managers, because I think funds below 50 million, micro nano funds, even smaller, and especially emerging managers, the first and the second fund is the best performing funds for sure. You just need to pick the right ones. That all said, in my particular case, the 2 categories that really want to work with me are very professionals. So it's often founders or GPs. So people who have been in the scene for 10 years and they run very big firms, like multi-billion-dollar investment firms, or big VCs that they have founded as GPs, general partners. Or founders who have built big businesses and understand how to make money in the thing, and they want to give back to the ecosystem. And those understand exactly what I just said, that Robin is a hustler. He sees the best deals. He gets into the best deals. He can win deals. And for that reason, we want to be part of the community, but also he has the right LPs. So they want to be part of the community because of the other LPs they want to meet. And so I have all my LPs are individuals, one of the 2 categories, and no other yet. Fairly honest, I would love to have family offices. I would love to have multi-family offices. I would love to create this relationship, but this takes a long time. And when I started Fundraise, I also realized I'm not the typical check the box guy that they want to invest in. So I give you this example. I think if you work at Index for 10 years, Index and Excel, and now you're saying, I make my own shop, then, and there are some examples of former Inside and Point 9 people who are amazing, and I love them. And then they went out and they raised 100 million solo GP, with I can't say the name, but one of the most prestigious fund on fund being invested in them as an anchor.
Yeah.
And I think this is really great, but it's like it checks the box on this track record, and they would discount you having built a profitable unicorn in the US. They would discount this to 0. For them, it doesn't have a meaning. So because you can't prove. But I also believe that past performance is not future performance. So I personally think this is wrong. So when I start my own, when I will start this emerging manager investing thing that I'm setting up already right now with friends, I really want to go in those who hustle, because when Harry Stebbing said with another guy, they said, why don't you just invest in the best EP? Having said all this 3 million comes from there. I went 1 week. I then started investing. I now have invested in 9 companies, and then I didn't fundraise because I only want to do one or the other. So I stopped fundraising and I did investing. Now I have these 9 deals, and now I'm going back to the market and I'm saying, look, there's 9 deals. I know what I'm doing. Here's my reportings. Everything is super clean. We work private equity niveau on reporting, because also people thought maybe because managing money is different to being a founder. And now
Yeah.
I wanted to prove that I'm even at managing money better than anybody else. So that was the ambition again. So I
Yeah.
tried to make very good reportings. I have a LP portal where you can sign in, automated capital calls, onboarding. Everything is fully technologized or digitized, and it's a good setup. So, and I already have the first markup, and there's 2 more markups this year to be expected. And so basically, I wanted to prove rolling closing that this is a good idea to invest in Robin Capital. It's the harder way, but I also think this is how you have a better performance in the end, because I really think about everything 100 times, and it has to be super high conviction before I invest. And this again is, I believe, why the first and the second fund often perform really good.
Yeah. No, I think it's there's a data that is backed where emerging fund manager outperforms any other fund manager in the ecosystem, and primarily for 3 reasons. One, that's something new, so energy is very, very high, network is very fresh, and then domain expertise is there, and totally aligned on that. Where there should be actually more and more funds dedicated towards emerging fund manager. There has to be a way, because a lot of these institutional funds, they just have so much capital that emerging fund manager check sizes become too small for them. And with this, Robin, how has the journey been? Meaning, what are the pros and the cons of being a solo GP?
I mean, I don't have many cons, because fairly honest, for me, it's different than what other people always saying it's so lonely. I don't think it's lonely. If you're a CEO and a founder of a company, that's lonely. Why is it lonely? Because you can't tell anyone shit about what's going on, right? So what do? You speak to the other CEOs and the other founders of the other companies. So my peers always have been not the employees, because with them, yes, I work, but I have the responsibility at the end. And I need to raise money, and I need to make sure that there is a pay slip and salary at the end of the month for everyone, and they have children. And this is I can't sleep, but I can't tell them that I couldn't sleep, and I'm in fear, and I have anxiety, and I'm afraid that we won't make the next round, right? I have to stand there in a town hall and say, we achieved this and we achieved that. But whom am I going to talk to? So I started, and I talked to my peers, and the peers were the other founders. So I've always worked like this for 10 years. And now I'm a solo GP, and it's the same. Not the same in this, but who am I talking to? I talk to other emerging managers, but I spend all my time with the founders. I love my founders. I go there. How may I help you today? Do you need this? You want a massage? But like, whatever it is, I just call them, and it's like, oh yeah, you need talent, you need this. I do it. I'm on, right? And so I keep myself super busy with them, and it's this community full of love. We have this WhatsApp channel where we speak frequently and exchange very openly and try to support one another. So I feel very much part of this. So to me, this con of being solo or being lonely as a solo GP, I personally don't have. For me, it's really my dream job. So the cons is the process. I wake up in the morning. I'm super grateful because I take this responsibility and accountability on myself, and I can grow into this. It's such a big task, and it can grow all the time. I last night at 1 a.m. I couldn't sleep, so I wrote a new newsletter. So all the time I just do this, and then I just press the button. There's no one. I don't need to give it to comms. I don't need to. There is no one else reviewing it, so I can just do it. If I feel it should be better, then I give it to someone in the community again. So for me personally, I love the freedom. I love that the founders appreciate my flexibility, and that I can make it work with them. So ultimately, what I love most about it is just that it's really a product made for founders. And I love to be part of this product, and I love to be at service. So this is the pros and the cons. In the beginning, it's crazy because you walk and you feel like you're in a dark room and you're searching for the light switch. And you want to hold to others, and you want to ask them how it goes, but no one really knows. And no one can help you because there are not so many. And those that I asked, they were busy. And so, I ended up on emerging managers doing it myself. So I have the feeling on founders help each other. I can call any unicorn founder right now. I have an appointment tomorrow. But on emerging managers, maybe kind of different breed, or VCs are a different breed. And I didn't have so much support, fairly honest, when I started this VC. And now what I do is I want to support the other emerging managers. So I want to do better. because now I learned everything. I know how to set up everything. I know where and how to do it. Fund administration, what capital calls, reportings, annual reportings, all of these things. I've done it in France. I've done it now in Germany. Now I want to give back and support the others because it was something that I didn't receive. So I felt that in VC, as a me being a solo GP, I didn't feel so much. It's my peers. My peers were the founders. So this is maybe the lonely part.
Got it. And Robin, if given a chance, what are 3 funds you would invest in as an LP?
I would invest in Gloria Bäuerlein. She does exactly the same what I do, one-on-one. German setup, 50 or 100 to 600K tickets, B2B SaaS, but she does globally, and would invest anywhere. She's amazing. She's working hard. She has operator and VC background. She's very smart and very thesis driven. So she thinks about the market a lot, and she is a born investor. I would say I'm often also a little bit the founder, and for me, it can be like, yeah, we will figure it out together. But with Gloria, it's like she's very much ahead of where the market is going, and she had the thesis for everything or not. And I appreciate, the depth of her thinking. And I think she does a good job. I would invest in Discovery Ventures. So this is the ex-SumUp founders. So it's a, I don't know, 5-6 billion plus unicorn, and they really understand this market. Then they founded again. They did Zeitgold in accounting, and then they sold this. They merged this with Deal, similar to my story. So they are shareholders at Deal, but they haven't cashed out, I guess. And Deal is pretty big. I think it went in 1 year from 50 to 250 million ARR, right? And then they decided they want to raise a fund. And like me, they made a very small first high performing fund. And now then they made a second and a third, I think, I don't know. And they have great investments. I heard that they really support the founders hands on because they're founders. And I think for that reason, they have a good, performance. And I love the guy. And then maybe the next 2 I could name is maybe just for the reasoning is Ramzi from No Label Ventures, because he invests only in migrants and he's an amazing human being. Or maybe, so he's a solo GP, or Bogdan. He is in Romania and he's like the man in East Europe. So if you want to find another UI path, then he's your man. And he just closed his first time solo GP, and I'm very proud he did so successful. So this is 4, sorry, you said 3, but I think this is 4 good examples, of which 3 of them are solo GPs and 1 is a smaller fund.
Got it. And Robin, with this, we'll transition into our last part. My co-pilot Alfonso is getting restless. He's asking to you, Robin, what's your typical day like, from starting from waking up to going to bed?
You will say it's sad, but I love my job, right? So I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I work 100 hours. I work on Saturdays and Sundays, and I've been doing this for 10 years and I really like it. People think I'm crazy, but I love it. So I spend all my time with work and with the founders again. But the typical days, I worked a long time in PST, and I had 100 hours, 100 flights a year sometimes, and sometimes I would fly to San Francisco twice a month. So 4 flights. I was crazy. So I didn't know in which time zone to be, and I was lost. So what I did is I just stayed PST all the time. So I lived wherever I was in PST. So in San Francisco time zone. And I sticked a little bit to it. So now I wake up in the morning at like 9 or 10, mostly like 9. Then I work 2 hours. Then I go to the gym for an hour. Then I go to eat for an hour, mostly related to work. I meet someone for work over lunch.
Yeah.
Then I work. Then I have dinner, often for work. And then I would work again after dinner until 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. And then I go sleep. That's the day. And this 7 days a week.
Yeah. Is there any undesirable part of your day?
Something that doesn't
enjoy.
I mean, I have a family. It's my sister. She's 5 hours from here, and I love her very much. And she has 3 kids, and I would love to spend more time with her. I have my father in Hanover. It's 3 hours from here, and I would love to spend more time. So I try to spend as much time as I can, and I try to drive there as often as I can. But it's just, takes a lot of effort what I'm doing here, and a lot of time, and it's time consuming. So sometimes I wish I would have a little bit more time for this. And then funny wise, this whole fund admin thing that everybody hates, I set it up now, and it was a goal for me. It was kind of challenging to make this fully automated. And at the beginning, it was kind of, why do I have to sit down here and do accounting? But now it runs itself. And now I'm happy that, it was a challenge. So it's okay. Yeah. So there's obviously things that you like doing more and others that you like doing less. I love to spend most of the time with the founders at servicing, but obviously if you get 100 deals, you need to review them. So, and some people, they love to, I have been in ICs and they were like, yeah, but the market this, and they love to, engineer the fuck out of whatever they want to invest in. I'm like, if you have discretion of rule of 40 or whatsoever, why don't you just call the founder? So everybody has a different interest. And I just, for me, it's sometimes overwhelming. And I would love to spend all the time with everyone, and I would love to give proper feedbacks, but I don't have 50 people working here who could do this. So this is, I'm kind of sad, less desirable, you said, but I'm kind of sad that I can't spend more time servicing everyone because I can only service those who are invested in. There are so many great founders that I would love to give more feedback, but I just don't have the time, unfortunately. I'm very sad about it.
Yeah, Robin, seems like, man, you love doing what you're doing. Seems like you're obsessed with it, and I'm sure the journey ahead is gonna be fruitful. And I wish you the very best in building out Robin and scaling it and building it a generational outfit out there. Thanks a lot for coming on the pod. I had a lot of fun chatting with you, and I got to learn a lot from you.
It has been my pleasure.